Inside Sports Talk with Johanna-Rosalye and my amazing co-host, Ed Cole and PLR. How are you guys? I missed you.
You first, PLR.
I was waiting for you. See, I was
okay.
Gentle. Please, no, I insist.
Well, we missed you, Joanna. Glad you're feeling better. Glad the trio's back together again.
You weren't sick. She was down in Cabo kicking it. That's why we didn't do a Zoom meeting. She kept sending text messages. She was down in Cabo chilling, drinking Mai Tais.
Shh! Don't give away my secret. Come on.
Well, I ain't mad at you.
Although I will say this, I hope you really didn't drink because I do not believe in drinking.
Never.
Never?
Never. Mm-mm. Sober, 100%.
Oh, yeah, always sober.
So what's in that glass that's to your right? Right by your...
To my right? It's not glass.
Oh, no, I said glass, not bottle.
Same thing.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, okay.
If it's not on camera, it's not there.
Too funny. Getting ethical here. Come on. Speaking about ethics, I'm going to go ahead and jump right in. So we have college football. It's kind of been, teeter-totter, trying to get the season back up and going and running again. But we have the Big Ten and the Pac-12 that have canceled their season for 2020. We have, however, all the others are going to go ahead and go forward with their season. For me, there's a lot of questions in this, and I want to get your take on what you think. But I think that there's a lot of disadvantage with especially two conferences not participating and having games throughout the season, because where does that leave off tournaments, playoffs, bowls, and all of that? I think that's an unfair advantage to those teams that are playing and to their ranking. So if they don't go ahead and play in the fall, does that mean that they're going to go ahead and play in the spring? They're not going to have a season at all? Because if they go on to the spring, it's going to be crunch, and they're more susceptible to having injuries with the short turnaround if they're going to going into the 2021 season. So, and how is it that the other conferences are deciding, okay, let's go ahead and go forward with the season. Let's go ahead and have one. These two, they're not going to have a season at all. And shouldn't this be all come together as a, kind of like the leagues do with NBA, NFL, come all together and decide, hey, we're going to have a season, we're not going to have a season, so that way they're not at a fair disadvantage. They don't have anybody who, like a commissioner or anybody who goes ahead and says, hey, this is what we're going to do. This is the benefit for everybody, like in basketball. And that's one of the things that I think that NCAA should consider with football. What do you guys think?
You mean having a commissioner over the Power 5 conferences at least?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I like everything with how this is all going down. And that's one of the things.
Go for it.
Wow. That would be kind of interesting to have one commissioner over the Power 5 conferences instead of every conference having their own commissioner. And now we're in this situation now, like you said, where all these conferences are split. And now the Pac-12 and Big Ten say, you know what, we're not doing anything. The SEC released their schedule. Yeah, they're going to go full steam ahead with their 10-game conference schedule. And now it's kind of, there are splinters within the Power 5 conferences as a whole. That would be kind of interesting. I don't know if they will be down for that, if all those conferences would want to do that, or if they would just want to stay individual like they are now and just kind of make their own decisions. And even though they came together with this situation and they had their meetings and they decided, at least the Big Ten and Pac-12 decided on their own to say no, it will be interesting to have one commissioner to make decisions for the entire 5.
The one commissioner thing, though, means that you basically have a pro league, and I don't think they want to do that. Money revenue is too. If you do that, then you got to look at splitting the money revenue almost the same. SEC is huge in football, obviously. Big Ten is more of a basketball conference. Pac-12, they do both, but they also have Olympic sports like in Stanford There was a mass exodus of the Big 12 at one time. The ACC really only has, for football, 3 teams. They're more of a basketball conference. So I don't see that ever happening. Plus, the SEC treats everyone else when it comes to football like they're beneath them anyway. So I don't think they want to be beholden to anybody. It's a great idea and it's logic, but Joanna's doing something that we should never do, and that's use logic when it comes to college sports, because they've proven over time they're the most illogical people. But to answer your question specifically, I don't think no one has thought enough in advance to figure out what they're going to do in the spring. I don't even know if they're going to pull bowl games off, and it seems like that would be the end game for playing in the fall. Plus, everyone is jumping ahead. I know the SEC released their schedule today. Until a ball is actually snapped, I'm not even sure there's going to be football, to be perfectly honest with you. I'm teetering on sports. These kids shouldn't play at all. I believe, like anything else, you evolve and look at numbers. And I don't know, Ed, if you remember me saying a long time ago, there's going to come a point where people are just going to play with COVID-like symptoms, because if you're starting to see so many people be asymptomatic and have nothing, I don't want to lessen this and make it sound like the flu, but there are times people play with flu-like symptoms and they're not really concerned with giving anybody they're playing against the flu. So I just see this within the next year. I see it evolving to that. And I know it sounds bad to say that, but there's just too much money on the line. And if no one is really between 10 and 28 non-symptomatic, really losing their lives over it, playing sports, I don't see sports starting to say we're going to do less playing. I see them actually saying we're going to go back to normal.
Yeah, we've touched on it several times, and and one of the things that it all comes back to, and especially with college sports and mainly football, second to that is basketball. It's the money, and that's where universities and colleges, that's where most of the revenue comes from. So if these colleges, these schools, they don't have that, we already saw it happening. They're already cutting back. So there's that domino effect. That's what's going to happen now, especially that these 2 conferences pulled back and decided, hey, we're not going to have a football season, and seeing, the ripple effect from that.
And like we talked about on Friday, Paul, it's a darned if you do, darned if you don't situation. If you decide that you're going to pull your entire season for the health and safety, you're looking out for your students, you're looking out for your student athletes, you're looking out for your entire campus as far as the coronavirus goes. You want everybody to be safe and healthy and reevaluate this thing come January. You're darned if you do that. You're darned if you don't. If you say you're going to be the SEC or one of the other Power 5 conferences that decide to actually continue on with football, and then everybody gets criticized. The commissioner and everybody that's made that decision gets criticized because they're like, okay, oh my goodness, we're in the middle of a coronavirus. We're in the middle of a pandemic. Why are you focusing on sports right now when you should be shutting this thing down to alleviate this issue with the COVID, with the virus, and try to eliminate this issue? And hopefully your student athletes are healthy. So it's a two-edged sword.
And then I think you have some real smart people in media, and I'm being polite with that, saying some real stupid beep. You have the Jason Whitlocks and Clay Travises and all those guys saying they're safer with their football team than they are anywhere else. Well, yeah, when they're with their football team and they're going from dorm to football, yes. But if grown men like the Cardinals couldn't not go to a what the Marlins allegedly couldn't not go to a strip club, and who knows what happened with the Reds. Or told you I'm blaming the Indians. That's a shithole city, and if I was in Chicago, I'd go out too. But I'm not mad at them. But if they couldn't do it, yeah, it's smart to say when they're with their team being monitored. But you're going to entrust all these young athletes to not end up at a college party, not end up with people of the opposite sex, not end up with people of the same sex, whichever, doesn't matter to me. I just think that it's an asinine thing to say they're safer there, because they're not. They're kids. They're going to do dumb things. And if you play for the SEC and you get tested once a week, but you play for the ACC and you get tested every other day, it's not the same. I just think smart people say stupid things, and if they just stop and listen, the being with the team part, they're fine. It's away from the team. That's the part that should scare everyone.
True. We'll get to know more and see how it all unfolds. Just like everything else, it's a fluid situation. And, like you said, Paul, we will know more and see more until we actually see the ball drop and seeing actually these games being played, if they're played at all. Speaking about games, we have MLB who has decided to go forward with having 7-inning games for doubleheaders. Is this the right way to go? Not the right way to go? Smart for MLB to do? We had games that were canceled due to the outbreak that happened, a few weeks ago. Still, that's something that's still being we see experiencing throughout the league with games being canceled. We have, and we were talking about it earlier, Ed, like how many games that I believe it's the Cubs or Cardinals that have to play like 7 or 11 doubleheader games in a certain amount of time to be able to get caught up. Like for me, I think it's added pressure to not only the team, but the players, maybe exposing them to injuries. Yes, I understand that they're wanting to catch up and make up the games and not wanting to forfeit to a loss per se, but what's the best thing to do here? I don't know. Having 7-inning games, okay, I think that's fine, but playing 11 double headers in the span of whatever time period, that's a lot of pressure. And then if, let's say, we also have those games that are still haven't been played that involve the weather, that are get postponed or get canceled due to the weather. So, and then let's say you have more games that are canceled because of that. So let's add maybe 3 more games. And the season is going to wrap up here in a month and a half, I'm going to say.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I think that there's a lot of pressure being put on the teams and the players.
Clearly, that's the only way the St. Louis Cardinals can make up their games with all these doubleheaders like they did over the weekend. They've done a doubleheader against the White Sox over the weekend. They're doing a doubleheader now with the Chicago Cubs. They're going to have a doubleheader with the Pittsburgh Pirates. They're going to have one with the Minnesota Twins. So I think all in all, they're going to have at least 6 or 7 doubleheaders that they're going to have to do in order to catch up. At least as I'm looking at it right now, the Cubs 13-7, the Cardinals 5-4. They're 29. They're 11 games behind as far as games are played. So this is the only way they're going to have to make it up. And as far as going 7 innings for each doubleheader, I believe the initial offer was 9 innings for the first doubleheader and 7 innings for the second doubleheader. But 7-7 is good because I think it, like they said, it's gonna promote player safety and staff safety as far as you do 7 innings as opposed to 9 innings. It's just less wear and tear on your players and less of a possibility that something could happen as far as anything out there, as far as the virus getting out there and a player contracting it from another player. I like the 7-7.
The only 7-7 I like is 7-Up and Seagram's. But if we're going,
I thought you said you don't drink.
That's what I heard. Anyway, But I thought, look, if you're going to try anything, try it now. You're doing the runner on second base. Everything, you know what?
Mm-hmm.
Try it. Although I said this on Friday with Ed, I think it sucks. If you come down with COVID because you were being irresponsible, you should forfeit those games. Those other teams shouldn't be put in a position to make up games because you were being irresponsible. But Major League, I understand that's giving money back. They don't want to do it. Again, it always comes back to money. You know what? I say, why play 7 innings? First team to 2 runs wins the game, unless it has to go 7 innings. And then in 7 innings, put a guy on second. Why don't we do this? Why don't we have a guy come up and hit, and the guy stand next to him and run so they can try to beat it out? Why don't we have you can't hold a runner on first base? Everything you got, throw it up. It doesn't matter. The Yankees are real good. They'll be there in the end. The Dodgers are real good. They'll be there in the end. That'll make baseball happy. Their 2 biggest markets will have teams in the playoffs. Everything else, go for it. Pitchers, when their arms get tired, let them pitch underhand. When their arms